Good afternoon, this is Pat Walker, Mission Winners, making a training coaching video here for everybody on how to manage, how to properly buy a gap up. This will really help you. This is the real world. This is not textbook. This is living off your investing profits. This is supporting a family of 6 off your investing profits with no wealthy relatives. This was my world. So we're looking at a stock here. I'm going to give a couple of examples. DraftKings. It's like, oh, it's a nice pullback. And oh, look at that gap up. Man, that's a buy. Let's buy that gap up. Be careful chasing gap ups. And I'm going to show you a tactic that will really help you. First off, the setup. It's a pullback to the rising 21 day. Maybe it's going to bounce off of there, and that could be a buy. But notice where it opened. It was a gap up. So how could you handle this? This is the daily chart. Take it down to 10 minute. And it gaps up. If it can make a small pullback, which it did, and it reverses here. You see this? It's falling. Lower lows and lower highs the whole time. And then it falls. And it puts in a reversal bar. When it takes out the highs of this bar, and it did it on volume, that could be a buy. But it is an aggressive buy. Okay? I can't stress this enough. This is an aggressive buy. But then you take it a step further. So Patrick, I buy it here, and it did have volume pickup. What's the game plan? How do I manage this? It rallies up. When it starts to fall, you bought it here. If it loses that buy spot, you have to sell. You have to control risk. All right? And I'm going to draw the line for you to show you what I'm talking about. There it is. It takes out the tops here. You buy. And it did it on a pickup in volume. Rallies up, starts to fall. If it loses it, sell it for an extremely small loss. And it's a good thing you did, because look what happens. That's the real world. Now I'm going to show you another example. DBX gaps up. This is a 10-minute chart. It gaps up and it runs up, but notice it closes below where it opened. We didn't buy it there. Please be careful chasing gap ups. I can't stress that enough. I've been doing this a long time. Chasing gap ups can be an emotional decision, and high emotions and good decision making are mutually exclusive. So it gaps up and it does this. You don't own it. Advance it. This is a 10-minute chart. Advance at 1 bar. Okay. It's an inside bar on a slight pickup in volume. That's a plus. And note where it opened at about the same price as the previous bar. I'll make this bigger for you. It fell. And note where it closed. It closed near the highs on this bar. All right? So what's the setup? And again, this is a 10-minute chart. If it takes out the highs of this bar, it could be a buy, but a small buy. I can't stress that enough. Let's talk about controlling risk. Where would you sell it? If it takes out the highs of this bar, okay, where would you sell it if it takes out the lows of this bar? Risk control. It's important to be a good buyer. It's more important to be a good seller. So advance at 1 bar. Okay, it lifts off, all right? Volume, just so-so. That's a slight concern. So if you did it, you went small. You always go small on this setup. And then it starts to pick up and everything's great. You're in it, all right? And it continues and it starts to pick up. Note the highs on this bar. It starts to stall here, all right? You've got to be careful with that. Still continuing, everything's good. And it's still continuing, everything's good. And it continues. And note the trend. And this is a very important observation. Higher lows, look, this low is higher than this low. This low is higher than this low, and so on. Every bar has a higher low. It also has a higher high. And then you have a stalling bar right here, just an inside bar. Then it continues. The trend is up, okay? An inside bar. And it still continues. And this, now it's going sideways here, and you've got to be cautious. Still continuing though, higher lows, still continuing, all right? And I'll just continue onwards, and this is where we're at now. It finally takes out the lows in here, and a person could sell a little bit off. That is a 10-minute chart on how, 2 examples of how to get into a gap up. The moral of the story is this: wait for the action to settle down. Key on the 10-minute chart. The other point I want to make, and this is crucial, go smaller. That will help you. And I'm going to illustrate one more example. I showed you 2 examples that worked. So here's Tesla taking off, igniting on heavy volume. But we'd like to wait 10 minutes to see what happens. All right? Just be careful on these situations because it's not the best setup on a day chart either. And then you get an inside bar. But if you waited 10 minutes, you didn't buy. And then you get this. And then you get this. And you know where it goes. It's just chopping around. The point is this: be careful chasing price. So you can say, Pat, I really wanted to buy this. How can I manage it? And I will share this with you. We'll go back. You buy it near the open and it's lifting off and you're thinking, this is the best thing since sliced bread. We're going to go for it. And then it falls and you have an inside bar on fairly heavy volume. You've got to be careful. If it takes out the lows of this bar, you have to sell. And it does. And it does it on a pickup in volume. Do you think we're the only people in the world that know about this? No. Be very careful chasing gap ups.
Thank you for watching the video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit like. Maybe hit that subscribe button. We come up with new content nearly every day. Also, check out the videos on the right. YouTube recommends the one on the top, and the bottom one is something we thought you might enjoy. See you next time.